We are in Tigerland,
This is it, mate.
the heart of Tigerland.
This is it.
And you're number one. You're a Tiger supporter.
I'm a massive Tigers supporter, even through the tough times. But you can't be there for the good times only. You got to be there for the tough times, right? We have had some amazing wins, but it's tough times in Tigerland now. Yeah.
But yeah, well, that's easier to said than done when you've won 3 flags in 6 years. And
Yeah, I know, but still, it's just one of those things, mate. You always want more. Once you've tasted success, you want more.
which is a great segue to you, James Thompson, Managing Director, Legacy Lane Finance.
It's me. Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We were talking before, like we don't know each other well, let alone for long enough,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's cool because it's, again, symbolic of probably people relationships.
Yeah.
And even though we've been in the same industry, I've never really heard your name until we crossed paths, at a broker event.
Yep.
But to be sitting with year two, it's year two?
You too.
Year two, running this business in your office.
Yep.
That you're also quite humble about and almost modest about, not necessarily. You probably sit back and you probably haven't sat back for a moment and gone, how did we get here?
Yeah. Yep.
Why am I here?
Yep.
But there'd be a lot of pride in it. So welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I
And
appreciate that. The kind words.
I appreciate you making the time, dude.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So tell us about it. Like, how'd you get here?
Yeah. I think. There's many different ways that I got here, and like anything, it's sort of you've always got a goal in front of you, but you are consistently changing and adapting and really coming up against things and changing and being able to pivot. So that's been a main thing. But really for me, like most brokers, I suppose, there's a significant amount of us that started off in banking. So my career started in Westpac, and all the way when I was 18, so fresh out of school. So teller into business banking, commercial banking, into the private and premium space as well, and running a portfolio there. So had about 8 years at Westpac, and then entered into the land of broking post that. So and that there's been many different roles in that space, but throughout, I suppose, the journey, the characteristics and things that I wanted to do haven't changed. So the things that be respectful to people, grow your brand, and deliver things with passion has never really changed through those different iterations of roles. And I suppose sort of 2 years ago it got to the point where I had led teams. I've had people reporting to me in the broking space, and really what we wanted to do with Legacy was I had this idea to kind of create a business where I just want to work with really good people, create really good outcomes for clients, and start to literally create a legacy. So it's while it's a bit of a fun name, and our office here is actually on a lane as well, the legacy part of it is really important for me and my wife Kate, really because we want to create a legacy for us, but then also for our clients and help our clients to build on what is their legacy.
Yeah, well done. And you know what, even though it could be interpreted as a bit of a play on words and you happen to be in a lame way, when you do talk to people, a lot of people care about these little things because it does speak to the method, the thinking, the context, the experience, and the purpose behind the brand.
Yeah, so we've grown really, really quickly. It did start off with just myself, and then Kate came on board, and we've got some other staff that have come through. but for us, it wasn't necessarily that we were ready right then. The main thing that I've sort of learned over the last 2 years is that confidence to jump before you're ready, which is where we sort of added on with Cass, who's our settlements officer, and James that's come in as another broker. Being ready for that growth, because I feel like we're leading from the front, and especially with our clients as well. If we're delivering the message of growing and being ready, then we've got to do the same thing as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, awesome. I want to spend more time on Legacy Lane, but I want to go back to the start, because you talked about, if I summarize, you've basically been in banking your whole adult life.
Yeah. Yep.
So did you choose banking, or did banking choose you?
Banking chose me. Look, I was let's put it nicely and say mediocre at school. But one of the things that I was really good at was business. I've had I've been very lucky with parents that have been really successful in business. Dad's a C-suite executive, and Mum spent 40 plus years in the bank.
So both parents in banking?
No, Dad was in sort of logistics and sort of high-end logistics management, international management there, and Mum did her banking career at Westpac. So as soon as I got out of school, looking for a job, it could have very easily been JB Hi-Fi. I had two interviews as soon as I got out. It was JB Hi-Fi, and then to be a teller at Westpac.
Was there pressure? Pressure?
Not at all.
Parents were kind of...
No pressure. It was just sort of, okay, well, what's next?
Sure.
Yeah. And look, I don't think that it was my calling or anything like that, but I think in this industry as well, the brokers that have come out of banking, they just have that kind of core values instilled in them from a corporate kind of upbringing, I'll say, and sort of like an apprenticeship in the bank to go, here's the standard of how we treat our clients, here's the standard of our deliverables, all those sorts of things. So while it's this whole thing in the industry, banks versus brokers, and the dark side has always been brokers, I don't necessarily see it that way. I'm very lucky at the time I spent at Westpac, and growing and developing there, and seeing different channels of banking, but also it wasn't really a calling. I kind of grew within that, and Westpac's kind of sort of allowed that as well.
Totally. And you'd probably find where we like my impression of you, knowing you, is that you like to be around people, and you enjoy building those relationships. And if I then go to my experience at the bank, which is very similar to the way you described, for me, I liken it to going to college if I was living in the States.
Yeah, that's right.
You learn everything about life.
Yep.
You learn what it's like to live out of home, to meet people, shake people's hands. Yep. And it feels like such a long time ago, where you would go to work 5 days a week.
Exactly.
You would walk through the door. You'd have to be on time.
Yeah.
You'd kind of be at your desk. You'd learn to build relationships, talk to people, talk to customers, make mistakes. I liken it as to a college degree
100%
experience. And then at a certain point, you realise that you're ready to go into the big world.
Yeah, that's right.
And venture out. Does that resonate?
100%. And I think what it does is give you it's like a tasting plate, right, of the different things. And like I was, touching on before, I wasn't an amazing, at school or anything like that, but I certainly was, outstanding in business. I always knew that I was, good with people. I was a people person, that, I had those soft skills that needed to be harnessed. And, you don't know that at the time when you're 18, 19, having drinks and going out. But you get put in positions in an institution like Westpac, where you have to step up and you have to use those skills and utilize those skills, because it is so regimented, and it does give you those kind of disciplines, like you're wearing a suit to work, you're doing this, you're doing that, but it will give you do I want to be a banker, do I want to be a credit analyst, do I like managing and leading people, Do I want to be in product or policy or compliance or whatever it might be? So that was a really good kind of basis to work out, I suppose, as corny as it sounds, like who you are, to then come out of that.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And everyone's got different ways to where they end up.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part of even working in a bank, let alone, working with different business people and owners.
Yep.
Everyone's journey is so unique and different. You can learn from that.
Yeah.
The thing I don't miss about the bank, I laugh in hindsight because when you're in business, every minute counts.
Yeah.
It's just how small of a cog you are in that
huge machine.
Big machine.
Yeah, that's right.
It
can be a positive and a negative, right? But yeah, I think the thing about, legacy and what we do and working with great people like you is that the impact that you have on clients' lives is it's magnified. It's full on because you're getting real time feedback from, your decisions are what is changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And in the bank, obviously that you are a part of that, but you're not the whole thing in that, right? There's a whole lot of other cogs that go along, and at the end of the day, you're a big machine.
Yeah.
But when people are doing business with Westpac, they're doing it with a corporation.
Correct.
When they're doing a business with James or Tom, they're looking in your eyes and shaking your hand. Yeah,
yeah, you can really feel it.
Yeah,
and equally, like the old saying, people bank with the banker. They don't bank with the bank. So the better bankers, which probably gave you the confidence to leave and try different things and create a legacy, like it's because you've built deep relationships with your customers.
It actually started when I was a relationship manager in the sports and entertainment kind of portfolio in Queensland.
Oh, wow.
So I used to look after some of those sort of
any name drops?
No, look, I won't. And we're in Victoria now, so it might not be applicable, but sure. NRL players and bits and pieces. But I think the key part of that is that when I was running that portfolio, there was relationships struck with accountants and financial advisors, and really some of our clients, they all use the one or two financial planners. So actually we went out and instead of just kind of them being referrers, we started a business relationship. So I knew, sort of back then, and that was, 10, 12 years ago, that the soft skills had led me to that point of, going out and exploring and utilising those soft skills and starting a business up there. Ultimately, we went our separate ways, but that was the sort of catalyst to move out of the bank.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're young, you see these big names and shiny numbers, or big names and numbers, and it can certainly overwhelm you. But then when you go and sit next to that person, look them in the eye, they kind of appreciate, to an extent, a combination of you being quite objective and separated to them, even though you know them, but you're just doing your job.
I think the main thing, and I was speaking to someone about this the other day, was people just want to do business with good people, and I think for most of my clients, it's around this theory of just surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you and work towards a goal for you, right? So I'm very, very much like, I don't know everything about law, or I don't know everything about accounting, but do I have a fantastic lawyer? Do I have an amazing accountant? Do I have someone that I can outsource these things to all help me get in the one place? Yeah. And whether you're a footy star, whether you're a, mum and dad, you're working at fish and chip shop, or you're a C-suite executive, the same rules apply, right? And maybe they're on different scales and bits and pieces, but you can collect this sort of, this team behind you to help you to grow. And that's been as true now as it was sort of when I first came into banking, nearly 20 years ago.
But how does that resonate though with, because I agree, but we know that because we've probably had a different experience. But as you talked about, there are different brokers with different experience coming in. They're active on social media. That's where all their business comes from.
Yep.
is the principle the same? Like they try and find an accountant on socials that are just as active to play that role? Because it does feel like that ecosystem that is really important for a broker to their clients is there's not a lot of value being prioritized on that.
Yeah.
With this next wave of brokers coming into the market.
Yeah, look, I think, I can't comment to all the different brokers out there, but what I will say is, what does legacy do? And this is no way, trying to say this is the model, but what we do here is really, because of my, I suppose, exposure to A, banking, B, financial planning, it's around changing this mindset for the customer of this isn't just a transaction, this is a relationship, and being that trusted advisor as well. And the word trusted advisor gets thrown around a lot, but out of that circle of people that a client has, what part do you play in that? Is the accountant the trusted advisor? Are you the trusted advisor? Who's the number one person out of that circle? Because everyone will have one, and they'll be ranked in terms of priority. So if you are that trusted advisor, and what we do at Legacy is, understanding, okay, well, what's the short-term goals for this client? So what are we actually trying to achieve right now? Obviously it's getting to this house, but the strategy of getting into this property or whatever it might be, does their lending solution align to what they're looking to do? P&I repayments, IO, how much they want to lend, how much cash they want to tip in, what are their repayments going to be moving forward. So understanding the short-term strategy now, but then also planning on the longer term. What are we doing in the next 3 to 5 years as well? And is what we're doing now going to be
to help
help fund this goal of long term? So for me, the biggest thing with the new brokers that are coming into the industry is try to treat this like a relationship basis rather than transactional, because that's the value that we add, and what a responsibility we have as brokers to guide people in the right direction.
Yeah. It's refreshing, and if we go to the Legacy now, which is 2 years old, when you're running a business, like sometimes like you want to add value, but you also need to, there's cash flow, there's drag, there's volume. So like that, you could easily be with your face daily with sort of maybe conflicting priorities to achieve one outcome.
Yep.
But then if we take that and go back a step and say, well, you're 2 years old, you've got staff that you've employed. Not many businesses at 2 years have that.
Yeah, we've got 5 in Australia, 2 in Philippines. Yeah.
So decent sized operation for a 2-year-old business.
Yeah.
Got your own office here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And your specialisation, you lean into the construction finance space. Like obviously you support all client types, but construction finance is a big focus.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on here in 2 years' time. How do you grow so fast without compromising the value you just explained?
Yeah, it's extraordinarily hard, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, look, it was easy. At the start, we were sort of doing the 100-hour weeks. Like it was silly. But you also got to get to a point where you're looking after yourself and coming to that point where you got to pull the trigger on things, and you got to hire staff, and you got to implement things if you want to keep delivering the same values that you hold dear. Then you need to put mechanisms in place to make sure has some longevity behind it. And what I mean by that is that working the 100-hour weeks, it's not sustainable, right? It just isn't. It doesn't matter. And it got to a point where when we've got referral partners and clients were referring me business, and you get to a point where it didn't matter how many hours were in the day. It didn't matter. That if you want to deliver the service that you say you're going to deliver to someone, it got impossible. So then you have to take a step back and go, okay, well, how do I keep on doing what I really love doing and delivering the right outcome for people, and putting mechanisms in place for that? And, the way that we did it was, staff, and then outsourcing, and, engaging in people that are actively going to help us to grow as well, and, aligning with business partners that are going to help us to, get to that next level. So,
because it's easy to turn your toes up and put your head in the sand and just sort of, the flow keeps coming. Yeah. And you just cop it. Yeah. And you just see how you react. So to actually take a step back. So was that your aggregator helping you and stepping in and helping you take a step back? Or was it you and Kate sort of stepping back and doing it collectively?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm pretty much like...
Did something happen?
No, I think so. There was definitely a breaking point. There was a point where it was like, I can't do this anymore. Kate was like, she can't do this. And, there was definitely, people in my inner circle that were just like, man, you need to take a break. What's going on here? You're going to kill yourself. But I feel like while I've been in the industry since, for the last 18, 19 years or whatever, there are people out here doing this now where they've created exceptional models, and have been in the actual broking industry and established businesses similar to mine, but obviously on another level. And I got the opportunity to be introduced to these heavy hitters, I suppose, in Victoria and Queensland and bits and pieces in the broking industry. I've been lucky enough to sit at some lunches with guys like that. And, I would actively reach out to them and say, look, let me buy you coffee. Can I just have, half an hour of your time to sit down and can you take me through your experience and your journey? And everyone's sort of had a similar kind of thing where they're like, look, I'm not going to lie to you, and it doesn't get easier, but you need to do this, this, and this, and here's what I did. And so I suppose, I feel like I'm not an expert in anything, but I felt comfortable in reaching out to these people and listening to their stories, and then trying to emulate, what they had done, and, hopefully carved out a little bit for myself as well. Yeah,
good on you.
Makes sense.
No, it does. And blokes just in general, so it's hard for most people to ask for help. But I think blokes especially, when you're kind of ego aside and you're running your own business too, it's the hardest thing for a bloke to ask for help. So there's a lot of lessons and value just in that. And you know what, and you probably say this not maybe right now, but maybe in 6 months down the track, what you experienced is 10 times over what you'd hope to have again, because that is the problem you want.
Yeah, that's right. As
someone starting your business. And then there's the risks of, okay, well, I can only forecast revenue based on run rate, and you worry if it's actually going to drop, but that's all you can make decisions on. Plus all these other fires around you. But that's to get to that point. That's showing that you're adding value. You're growing your business. It's painful, but if you had your time over again, you'd want that problem. I think absolutely. And I think for me is people ask me all the time, because I was leading teams and bits and pieces. Would you have done it any soon? Don't you regret doing it sooner or 5 years ago? And my answer to that is that you're supposed to be where you are at the exact moment that you're supposed to be there, totally. Right? So, would I have done the same things 5 years ago? No. And I feel like the value that I had, and when I started to look at legacy and what I could do was, I had my MBA, I'd led teams, I had the connections in the industry in terms of, at a banking level, state managers, national managers. I knew, obviously how to lend money. I'd been doing that for, most of my career. So the skill set in terms of what I had to bring to the industry and bring to legacy was, from a management point of view, technical point of view, tick. And it was really about, I knew that I had the soft skills to go and help and grow and develop and ask for opportunities from people, but I didn't have those connections. But
I had to go and do it, right? Because I sort of had to back myself and went, yep, I've got this and this. I feel like I can deliver. All I need is a chance. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
and then you learn pretty quickly. Like, you can prepare as much as you want.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
You're still not prepared.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's funny hearing like people who are still at the bank.
Yeah.
And I don't. This is not a comment from an arrogant point of view. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you either get to that 10-year mark and you either leave or you stay.
100%. Yeah.
I think the common phrase is you die at the bank, basically.
Yeah.
But people ask you how it's going, and when you leave, you realise just when you work at the bank, you're so institutionalised that no one talks the way we talk, and things are done a very certain way. And lots of this. It's like an admiration and almost like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
I'm just like in awe.
Yeah.
And then you go on our side and people would often say, could never go back to the bank. But
yeah.
I just think like, you know what, like you can never say never.
Never say never, no.
And
no.
Like, if you then go like liken it to footy or any sport, like you're a better footy player or an athlete with 10 years experience than what you are with a year's worth of experience. So if you like what you do and that was something that gave you the opportunity, you could probably go back to the bank. And you'd want to, like, depending on who you are, like I feel this way sometimes about it, is you do it 10 times different.
Yeah, that's
10 times,
right.
And hopefully 10 times better.
Yeah.
Probably with less of a, I don't care. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say.
Yeah.
But it's interesting hearing both sides of it when you've been out for a period of time.
Yeah. It's look, I look back on the bank with, really fond memories, and I've got a lot of respect for people that work in the bank as well. And look, without, given the volume that the broking industry does, it couldn't be near as successful as people in the bank tweaking things, making sure they can handle the volumes, SLAs, all those sorts of things, right? So, private bankers, commercial bankers, you have to have relationships with them.
Correct.
You can't be successful in this industry if I hate the bank, I hate this, I hate that, but then you're telling a client, hey, this is a really good bank to go with. So you have to have that kind of flexible relationship where there's a mutual respect. And I feel like, we've created a culture here of legacy of, when BDMs come out here and bankers come out, I'm just open and honest with them and say, look, I'm not going to be the guy that calls you every 5 seconds to go, how you going? I want this. When I call you, pick up the phone. And then it's because I need something. Otherwise, mate, pat on the back and thanks for getting this done for us. I feel like we have that open relationship, and every bank that comes in here into this office, we ask them, what can we be doing better? How do we present the clients better? What are you saying? What's your feedback?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, our success is a reflection on, getting the deal done for the client and helping them into that house or property. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Good attitude.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of I was chatting to a WA broker yesterday. Her name happens to be ALBA as well. Yeah. And that whole office is ex-bank.
Okay, yeah.
And she was saying, like, we're talking about the industry and new brokers, etc. And as you know, when you work at the bank, process. You know what credit's going to look at, the assessor, fulfillment. And like she was telling me, she got a call from the lending assessor, who was like had so much admiration for a straight through deal. Yeah. And the bank and the broker's like, we did this. What do you mean? It's just, this is what it should be.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is, again, it's a reminder of, I think, the value and the benefit you do get working at the bank. Yeah. In a controlled environment, different exposure, controlled policies, processes, emphasis on quality, which then translates to how you speak to your lenders and BDMs about what you can be doing more of to make it easier. Yeah.
And look, I think this industry is, at the moment, we've got record numbers of brokers, and when you look at them, each of them are going to have their own approach and their own values, and what they deem as important to a client and how they operate and all those sorts of things. But let's face it, the barriers to entry in broking are too low at the moment, and something probably needs to be done about that. And what you are seeing is I feel like these bankers that are coming in to be brokers, they're coming with expertise. They're coming with a regimented, this is how I've operated for the last 5 years. I'm going to deliver the same sort of service to my clients now, but on my own terms. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And, the lower end brokers that aren't doing these things and aren't, adding those extra values, they're going to get found out pretty quickly. Yeah,
they'll just become buyers agents. That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
They've already started doing it.
Yeah.
Which is a topic for another day.
That's right.
So then if we go to legacy lane, so your niche is construction finance.
Yeah, I think, we do a lot in the construction space. And so when we say construction, we say, homeowners building and investors building as well.
Yeah.
So
your relationships with developers. So like as a business, like there would also be
with developers, builders.
Because why is it important for those businesses like developers to have a specialized broker in construction finance?
It's a great question.
And because the broader, and not to cut you off, sorry mate, but the broader context, if we just think about housing in Australia at the moment, we've got a lot of people wanting existing stock. There's not a lot of that. There's a lot of political discussion about these approvals to build that are on paper. And you as the broker would see it firsthand via your developer clients who know how expensive it is to build this new stock.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
And all of that is just that's a Pandora's box. So
I think it's having the niche in that construction kind of finance is important for our business, and they're very hard loans to get across the line. Okay, not hard, but I would say in depth, complex, and policy driven, right, as to where to go with things. Like anything, banks will have an appetite for a certain type of client, a certain type of deal, area, postcode, LMI, whatever. So I think the benefit of what Legacy brings to those clients is because we're doing a multitude of these transactions all the time, we know where to place deals, where's it going to get done for certain sites. When we're speaking to clients, it's not just about, okay, well, how much deposit do you have, and how much can we lend? It's about, okay, who's taking the first homeowner grant into consideration at the time of land settlement? What's your progress payment strategy? How are you going to manage that? It's about not only completing the actual construction of the property or the land settlement, but also, what happens after that. So my principles here were really about going back to that whole transactional and relationship base. We're not here just for, okay, we're getting the land settlement done, and hey, Mr. Client, here's an app on your phone, just take some photos of your progress payments and send them into the dark. We're talking about people who, this is probably one of the most important things that they'll ever do in their life. It's the Australian dream to get into and build their own home. So we're there to not only, get them all the way through from approval to settlement, but then also to, help them with their, progress payments, going down the track, liaising with the builders. If there's any post-contract variations, what does that mean? When do they have to come up with cash? All that kind of stuff that can be completely overwhelming for clients. So from a client's point of view, we're in it for the journey for them, all the way from when they sign their first contract. It might register 2 years later, and then so we've got deals that we've done the approval for. And I've done the approval for them, the conditional approval. I've got one client that started in 24, and we've done the conditional approval probably 6 or 7 times, just over and over again, making sure it's live. Now you tell me another broker out there that is going, geez, what's the ROI on that? But because we've got a developed system and we've got the infrastructure in place, or we like to think so, that we know, when the registration dates are going to be and what we're going to do there. So it's a benefit from a client's point of view because we're in it wholeheartedly. Where if that's not your specialty, maybe you're not. And nothing against other brokers that aren't in that space. But when it is your specialty, we've built an ecosystem around that. From a developer's point of view, the way we operate delivers the developer an unconditional approval, which is what basically they want. They want to know, is this client going to settle? And they've probably got people on the other side going, how many have you sold? What's the go? So we add certainty on, I suppose, on both sides. And the thing is with, I suppose, developers is, managing certain sites. Like we've got a site at the moment where there's over 30 different lots, individually looking at those clients, getting them all approved, having an open communication with the developer to go, yep, these are approved, these are the uncons that we've got. It helps the client, it helps the developer, and it helps us. So that's sort of where we, I suppose, really play both of those sides.
How hard are developers doing it these days?
Look, I think there's certainly opportunities out there, but I think it's I think it's tough.
What would be from what you see, what's the biggest challenge they face? Like cash, getting land, making it stack up, getting the finance, all of the above.
I think probably all of the above is a challenge, right? Like I suppose a good thing, and we've had conversations about this before, is that there's a whole lot of money that's come into Australia with private lenders and bits and pieces that have the appetite to go and lend on this basis. So the access to money is getting better. But I think, they do face all of those challenges. Like it is tough. And then if you throw in the mix of, okay, well, I don't know if these clients are going to get approved in this area. What's the environmental, is it going to val up? All that kind of stuff. But the certainty, I suppose, we add is micromanaging these clients through to approval is going to give the developer confidence.
Yeah, totally. And then beyond the developer, because, you naturally speak to existing developers who have got the experience, got the track record. But then there are new developers that I'm sure that people hear about you to work with. It's no different to a KYC kind of process, right? But what are you seeing from a new developer point of view and their experience, their capabilities to them want to acquire and find sites? Like, are you finding there's a lot coming that just know they're not going to fit any lender's requirements based on experience, or you're seeing a lot of projects that just don't stack up that you kind of have to really educate and lead into?
I think we're not seeing as many of the unexperienced, because they would have some experience in some capacity, whether it's starting to come up in the game. But we certainly are open and honest, I suppose, with our capabilities and what we can do for them. We're always open for business, and I suppose where legacy is at the moment, I would have started legacy saying we're going to go B2C, but where it's at the moment is B2B. And I'd like to continue that journey because I feel like it works for everyone, and it's getting back to that point of who has the relationship and who has that prioritized relationship. We can't all have it, so who has it, and how do we kind of work together for the client, and whether that client's the developer, whether it's the actual client themselves buying, or what that might be.
But that becomes a genuine scale problem.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you solve that?
I don't know. If you got the answer, let me know. No, look, I think it's just finding the right people. I think what we've done well, like the girls in the Philippines, they're just weapons, right? They're weapons at what they do. We've got a great team here, but again, the more work we get, you get back to that. I feel like we get back to that point of the pressure comes off because we spend capital and invest in staff and systems and bits and pieces, and we've gone, oh geez, we've spent a lot of money here, and then we get to that point of, okay, the pressure's off a little bit, and then it's like, okay, well, those deals are starting to come off, and then I've got to do more BD, and then I do the BD, and then the pressure's back on again, and then we've had this trip to Japan booked in for the last 5 years. We've had to move it last 2 years. We've had to move it 5 times.
Wow.
And trying to explain that to my wife to go, it's, it'll be fine. We'll just move it. It's not ideal. No. But, at the end of the day, it's just like being able to adapt and to change, bring people in as you need and keep going. But yeah.
Because the upside's enormous in that capacity. Because you are like in an indirect way a JV partner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you're just mitigating both ends of it.
Yeah.
And like as I asked earlier, how do you do that without compromising the value, especially as you're growing, is what every business owner would want to create as a problem.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done to solve. But you only learn that by going through it and making the mistakes and
100%
and being humble with it.
Yeah, and I feel like for me, what are my goals? They'd be to let go a little bit more. I'd like to let go more. I'd like to, do more BD. I'd like to bring on more business and the stuff that I'm good at. There's that old expression that, if you don't, then you become, the world's highest paid admin, right? Like, but I do pride myself in being, still having the ability that I've done everyone's job in here, like, settlements, admin, all that stuff. So if I had to, I can do it. And I think that's a really important skill to have.
Get your hands dirty.
Yeah, 100%. You can get your hands dirty and get it done. Yeah. Is it practical? No, but
But people think like getting offices like this and your own computer, and you don't unless you have a genuine funding line, right, where it's great.
Yeah.
You only get this through hard work and rolling up your sleeves.
And the hustle, right?
And the hustle. You just hustle. Unlike mates of ours that just sit back and 1A and
that's right.
And just talk about, of which we should, the aggregator.
Yes.
What role have they played for you to get to this point?
Instrumental. They really have. And that's, I've been with Connective for most of my broking life. I've been at companies before where I've used other aggregators, but really the support that I've had from the Connective team, so Joletta, Richard, and our good mate Brad, has been pretty amazing. I feel like the thing is with them is that they are really aligned to those brokers that have come out from the banking world, because they're not overbearing in terms of, I'm going to tell you, you need to do this exactly like this and this. Like, they don't do that. I think they're there when you need them. Obviously, the tech's there, the commission structure and all the rest of it, that's just staple stuff. But their ethos around connecting like-minded individuals, and when I was speaking about before around, getting introduced to people that write, 500, 600 million a year, and people that I, idolize to some extent, to go, this is amazing. Like, the ability for me as a first year broker for someone to go, hey, look, here's a name and number over here. I've had a coffee with this guy, and he said that he's willing to have a chat with you and tell you a little bit about, you can't buy that kind of support. You really can't. Yeah. And so I feel like, from that perspective, they've been really good to me, and it's been a great partnership.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah, it's awesome. And it goes back to your bank bashing comment or topic earlier. I think brokers it's really easy for brokers to bash their aggregator.
100%.
But come on.
Yeah.
Like where does it, everyone complain about, people can complain about
everything.
Everything these days. Can we just stop and just really just think about where you are now? Again, going back to that point, because I'm just thinking about it too. You're 2 years in. Mm-hmm. You got great momentum.
Yep.
You're responsible for people, which I couldn't think of anything worse, to be honest, at this age. You've got you've got an office that you could bring clients into.
Yep.
Like you've got an accountant out here who wants to sublet some space and bring his clients in here too.
Yep.
That's fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
So if you just stop for a moment, because you're a very humble, modest person and who hustle, like we both hustle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, at what point do you sit back and just sort of say, like, you know, this is pretty cool?
Yeah, it's hard because it's I have this running joke with a really good, you know, my best friend. He has a go at me because I always say, "Oh, we'll see." He said to me, you know, we have these kind of catch up. He's a broker as well up in Queensland, writing, you know, phenomenal volume and really the pinnacle of you know, sort of that private bank clientele. He's doing extremely well. But we have open and honest conversations, and he goes, you know, how'd you go this month, and you know, how'd you go with that developer, or how'd you go with that new business partner? And I go, oh yeah, no, it's pretty good, and we'll see. We'll see. And he's like, mate, why are you saying we'll see? You've done it. Yeah. You know, you need to just stop and you've done it. And he said you need to get that out, we'll see out of your vocab, right? Yeah. So yeah, like, you know, obviously this is fantastic. But I think that, you know, we just got to keep going. Just got to keep going. And I always sit down with Kate and go, okay, when times are really tough, go, okay, well, we can just pack it all up tomorrow if you want. If you want to just pack it up tomorrow, no worries. Yeah. Like, we'll just do that. But it always circles back to, nah, let's keep going. We're good at what we do. Yeah.
Awesome. No, it's a trait I admire.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know you from a bar of soap in terms of time, but I think from a values point of view, like it's the reason why I feel really comfortable to come out here and work and
absolutely. Yeah.
And I learn. Like, I come here and I learn, and I see how you go about it, I watch and observe, and your demeanour is consistent, and you're the kind of guy that leads from the front. Like, coming in the office, you're here. Like, even if your staff aren't here, you're here, and it's probably your experience working at bank that has instilled a bit of that.
Yep.
You can't expect people to do things if you're not willing to do the same, and you do that in a very consistent manner. So,
I appreciate it, mate.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, we can't leave without you giving ALBA a plug.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, obviously, you don't do a lot of finance where my buyers agents are buying that type of stock.
Yeah.
But the role that ALBA resonates with you, the broader business of Legacy Lane, and maybe even industry, and you can say whatever you like, and I'll pay you later on as well.
That's right. Look, I think, you know, to be honest, Tommy, no one's ever done the things that you've been doing over the last 12 months. The calculator, the way you go about business. So James Orr, that is a broker here at Legacy, I know he's referred clients over, and has had the utmost trust in you to execute on that, and making sure that you're aligning them with the right partner. I've got absolute confidence in sending clients over to ALBA, but I'll just hone in on the fact that the calculator that you have developed is an absolute call to action to brokers, and getting back to the things around that sort of how am I adding value to my client. Tools like this are really what's going to cement clients, and brokers are always looking for, okay, I've built this amazing business, and we've settled hundreds of millions in that, but if you're not solidifying your book and adding value to your existing clients, your book's worthless. It's going. If you're not doing it, I can guarantee you these banker brokers that have come out, they are doing it, and because they're sophisticated, they have the confidence to approach their clients and say, look, here's this, let's go with ALBA. If you're looking to access equity, we're going to do this, and we're going to go down this path. So I would say, for anyone that is looking to up their game to really, I suppose, gain exposure into this area, then ALBA's an absolute no-brainer, mate. Yeah,
cool.
You pay me now or later, or
well, I didn't bring cash, so I need to. What we're like, wogs with cash.
Yeah, that's right.
So, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And I think that's the most important thing. like we built this calculator.
Yeah.
Not, like, yes, because it can kind of help me and our clients, but it goes back to working in banks and looking at the funnel every day and seeing all these AIP clients and seeing the bank and not be able to have the conversation they want with their client about opportunity costs. And because people now bank with the broker, brokers have a really tough gig, growing, scaling, the whole lot. The broker's always going to be the trusted partner to the property buyer. That's the way I see it, and that's why we do the things that we do. So,
well, that's the thing is that, you know, with brokers now, you are not just. It was fine, you know, 10 years ago to know how to lend money. Now you're lending money, you're marketing, exactly, property. You have to be experts in everything. So, you know, you've got to outsource these things. And if you're not demonstrating that you can do this stuff, then someone else will. So absolutely take up Tommy.
Thank you, mate. Awesome. It's been an absolute honor and privilege, and again, like, sincerely, like, and I mean it because, like, I've worked in startup before, and that problem that you had, like, we had a similar problem, even though we had great funding, good brands behind us, but no one wanted to work with us because they didn't trust the brands. And we didn't have enough momentum to continue to create that trust. So for you to do that in a short period of time, there are a lot of brokers out there who would be looking in, wanting that same feeling. And that's a real blessing to those out there, because it does take years to grow and to grow well. But by focusing on the right things and the basics for long enough, that's sort of what's gotten here. So well done. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
Can't wait for what's ahead. But thank you for giving us the time to talk on the ALBA.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks very much. Cheers, brother.